Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast. I'm the usual host, Trace Con, and joined by Tony Tones at RT. How's it going, Tony?
Hello. I'm feeling a little bit toxic recently. I've been
Stellaris.
made yeah, toxic Tony's back, you could say.
Love to hear it. Where did he go?
To space, apparently.
He became very well mannered. That Tony boy.
Well, I have a theory, but I'll wait until the Solaris portion of the
Right.
trailer. So.
Well, introduction section to what I'm doing. I have used a Steam Deck now. This is big
You are a
news for
Steam
me.
Decker, you could say.
Well, I don't own one.
No, but
to be
you've
honest,
used it.
To be honest with you, I did not have as much time as I would have liked to actually
Oh,
have with this thing.
so how long do you have?
Well, essentially, I was visiting my brother,
Yeah.
who owns a Steam Deck, and he's just had a kid. So I was there to see the kid,
Right,
and
not the Steam Deck.
then I was like, you know that Steam Deck you just got? Can I have a look at it? And he was like, yeah. So I played for a little bit. So I'll talk about like my experience with it. So my brother has the most expensive one, the 569 one.
Yeah, that's sensible.
The one with the 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. He was saying that he thinks the real play would have been just to get the £349 one. So
I think so.
I'll give you my thoughts and my brother's thoughts because he's used it a lot, and he's, funnily enough, used it for the exact thing I was going to use it for without saying anything to him. You remember when the Steam Deck was announced, and I was like, "Yeah, it looks pretty cool, but it would essentially become a giant iPad to play Slay the Spire on," and I was like, "That's probably what I'm going to do." And then I got Slay the Spire on my phone.
Yeah.
And then my brother's just been playing Slay the Spire non-stop on his Steam Deck, like exclusively. So
Interesting.
I thought that was pretty funny that he just
The
hadn't really
experience
played
on the
game until
phone's
that
pretty
point.
good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good on iOS. I mean, I'm sure it's the same on Android. So, it's this because the Steam Link app. Because initially there was the Steam Box, right, which was the little box you could buy to stream stuff to your TV downstairs or whatever. And then they just turned it into a phone app. So when they released the app, I downloaded it and I was trying it out. And the thing I did was every time I went downstairs, I would just play Slay the Spire from my PC on my phone through the Steam Link app. So I was like, this is already works kind of perfectly through this janky setup. Like, it would make so much sense to have this on a portable device. But so I thought we were saying, like, so he said the carrying case is cool. He has the exclusive profile border, which obviously no one cares about.
No.
He said he didn't really notice the anti-glare etched glass, and he said he didn't think the loading times would be that much different between the SSD and the eMMC memory.
I've seen tests and there isn't that much of a difference apparently. They somehow managed to like get a lot of performance out of the low SD.
Well, essentially, you could use it like a switch where you could just load up those what are they called? Like the cartridges things. I'm forgetting it. Like flash drive things.
Yeah.
You could just load them up with games on them and then just swap them in and out.
Flash cards.
Yeah. Because like
apparently
buying,
it's really like
a terabyte of that stuff is not that expensive of like flash memory.
Yeah. How much is terabyte SD card?
SD card. That's what I'm looking for. 1 terabyte.
I can get £160 from SanDisk. You can get some cheaper ones.
512 gigabytes for £71. Yeah. Like NVMe drives aren't that expensive. It wasn't that 1 terabyte NVMe drive you were looking at, like.
I mean, I can speak about that. So so I was looking at the Sabrent Rocket 1 terabyte Gen 4 TLC SSD, NVMe SSD. It was £125, and it very recently went down to 105. It's like that's insane. That's like the same as some SATA drives. That's crazy. Admittedly, those are overpriced SATA drives in my opinion, but
I was just anyway. We're gonna have a tangent. I was just saying, like, he was like, "Oh, it probably wouldn't be that much difference between the eMMC storage that's fused to the board on the base deck." But then I said, "How would you know? Because you don't have that on the Steam Deck."
Yeah.
So
I think people test it, but yeah, I don't know how you would know.
because I would like to have a Steam Deck with just the fused storage, or to have an SD card to try putting games on it, and then compare it myself and see how it feels to load the games.
Surely it has an SD. Like all versions have an SD card reader, right?
Yeah, they've all got the reader. That's just you don't have essentially an SD card with the Steam Deck and the base version, but you get the NVMe drive.
But I swear with the base version, you can still input your own.
Yeah.
NVMe, okay.
It's just I couldn't directly compare them when I had the deck, which is why that's one thing I want to try. So, what did I play? Funnily enough, my brother had The Witcher 3 installed. He said he wanted. I don't know if you know, but recently I've been playing The Witcher 3 just myself through Steam. I wanted to wait to the next gen patch, but it got spun on the wheel.
Yeah, the wheel.
The wheel precedes all. Yeah. Obviously, he hadn't started it yet, so I wasn't going to be like, "Oh, I'll just," I didn't have much time, so I couldn't just start The Witcher 3 and try and play around with it.
Do you have less than an hour to mess around with this? Like how long?
Yeah, less than an hour. It's just
okay,
my brother's just literally past couple weeks had a kid, and I was there visiting the kid, so I was like,
yeah,
I need to let you sleep because you probably haven't been sleeping. Because he said he hasn't he hasn't been using the Steam Deck that often now because of that, but hopefully he'll go back to gaming on it because he said it was quite good when they were waiting for it to be born and stuff. So that's cool to see.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? Oh, I said I'll have to borrow at some point because when he has some time when he's like, I don't play on the Steam Deck enough. Essentially, most of the things I own are just things Daniel buys and then goes, I haven't used this in a while. And I'm like, well,
he likes the idea.
Eventually, the Steam Deck will become mine. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I have a Blue Yeti for the podcast. Oculus Dev Kit 1. The Vive is in my room. I have some headphones from him as well. I'm just collecting. Oh, my 970 was his for a very long time. That's what I'm saying is, you don't need to buy tech. You just need to have an older sibling who buys it and then forgets about it.
Slight problem with that is that I am the older sibling, so I just give all my old stuff to my sister.
You're the one giving the hand-me-downs.
Yeah, so...
Anyway, let me talk about my experience. One of the things that surprised me the most, Tony, is that, me and you both have used the Steam controller. Where is it?
Yeah. You're talking about the haptic buttons and
the haptic buttons and stuff, and I can even...
Yeah.
Do I have audio set for my full cam?
Because it makes weird haptic-y noises.
Here is a Steam controller.
They're phasing out of existence.
Yeah, my RTX NVIDIA broadcast is just losing it. So here's a Steam controller, and here's the... so Steam controller does not have two joysticks, which the Steam Deck does.
Yeah, genuinely that is my biggest complaint with the Steam controller.
Here is a Vive controller made by HTC and Valve. And one thing you'll notice is they both have these...
Similar.
Yeah, these haptic touchpad buttons on them both.
Does the plastic feel the same as well? I always thought the plastic looks the same. I don't know if it feels the same.
It definitely... For the controller and the Vive, as I have them side by side, they're essentially the same thing.
Okay.
But I think they've refined the technology on the deck. It does feel a lot better. I mean, the thumbstick placement on the deck is way better. It made no sense to have the Steam controller have one joystick.
Yeah.
I did try the different... So the game I did actually end up playing was I played Portal 2. I was very curious to try Portal 2. The one thing that confused me the most was playing Portal 2 with the controller. I think that's what threw me off the most, was I'd never played Portal with a controller, so that was very confusing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But it does work, and it works really well. I was able to run it at 60 FPS. I turned on the performance graph thing, was running flawlessly, like 60 FPS, 720p.
This is your first time using Linux?
No, I've used a
Okay.
I have used a Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
Is PiOS based on Linux?
Yeah. It's based on GNOME or GNOME, however you want to pronounce this. It's like definitely.
So
Linux.
I have very briefly used Linux, but not really.
Okay, second time using Linux.
But I did use that because I was asking my brother to like show me some stuff. I essentially just wanted to sit there and just fumble my way through it, just pick it up and just go, oh, what does this button do? What does this button do?
How do you do this?
My brother was very much like, I know how to do this. I'm going to show you how to do everything.
Okay.
But because I think if I had my own time with it, I could like figure everything out like intuitively.
So he's been messing around with it, like settings and things, like figuring out.
Oh, he's done tons of stuff. Like he set up like Lutris, which is basically a Linux program which is like a third-party game manager. So he's showing me like Lutris, and he set it up so he can launch into Lutris through the Steam Deck, which then allows him to launch Battle.net, and then he can play Overwatch on his Steam Deck.
I was going to say like it's used for like non-Steam games, right?
He couldn't show it to me then because Overwatch had an update, but he said to me that he had got Overwatch working on his Steam Deck, which is a game he plays a lot.
That's crazy.
That was pretty cool to see.
I genuinely did not expect that to work. I'm going to be honest.
He said he was messing around with emulator. He had like RetroArch or something like. He had like a bunch of emulators on there, and I think he said the one game he installed was Crash Bash, which is a Crash Bandicoot party game we used to play as kids on like the PS2, and he said it ran terribly. I think it may just be a problem with Crash Bash. The game itself on emulators.
There might be that. To be fair, I have heard that like some emulators do not play nicely with some certain Linux stuff. So like,
let me just keep pulling up things out of my room that relate to the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck has back buttons on it, which if you don't know, Scuff Gaming owns a patent on. So very few controllers in the world have these. Steam got sued because they put these on the Steam Deck, right? Steam Deck and Microsoft actually just paid Scuff Gaming for their patent on back buttons.
Oh, really? They just paid for it?
Yeah, they just basically said, hey, we want to put back buttons on our Elite controller.
I still think it's a load of bollocks, so that's patentable considering how simple it is.
So I've used back buttons before. I thought, they felt good on the Steam Deck. I like using back buttons.
They're very good.
Especially for stuff like Rocket League, where I like to boost on the back so I can keep my hand free for other stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to change. I wanted to mess around with the settings. I wanted to tinker and do stuff like that. I messed around with like the FSR settings. I messed around with the refresh rate settings. So I was playing Portal 2 at 60 FPS. Very good experience. Very good looking. I was like curious. I was like really curious because I know a lot of AAA games for the Steam Deck. They're going to be running. You're gonna like your most target. You're gonna try and hit 30 FPS if you want to get like big AAA games running. I tried 30 FPS in Portal 2. Initially switching from 60 FPS, it felt awful, and always when you make a switch that quickly, it's gonna feel awful, and obviously you could get used to it. But what I found was I was like, I'm really curious to try out 40 hertz, like limiting the refresh rate to 40. Hertz. I think I went 45, maybe because Portal's got overhead. Because Portal can run at 60 fine. Like it's an older title. It runs at 60 on the Switch. So I was like, you know what? I'll try running at 45. 30. So going from 60 to 30, very noticeable. Feels awful in a FPS sort of game like Portal 2. I really wanted to try Doom Eternal, and my brother was saying, oh, you don't need all this storage space. And I was like, you will if you start installing games like Doom Eternal, because Doom Eternal's like 70 gigabytes. I'm sorry, 70 gigabytes, So
it's huge.
What else was I saying? I don't remember. So 60 to 30, very noticeable. I was surprised how smooth and not as noticeable 40 was. Like, I think if I'm looking at the Steam Deck, I want to play stuff like Doom Eternal and stuff like that, I'm going to try and hit a 40 FPS target. I think it's a really good compromise because it's like in between 30 and 60 in terms of frame pacing, and that actually makes like a very big difference in terms of like fluidity. Because people look at it and go, oh, it's 10 frames, but then you got to think about like the delay on the frames, right?
Yeah.
Which actually,
because like it's like halfway between like if you look at
yeah,
the frame time instead of number of FPSs.
because I was confused too when I saw like the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart 40 hertz mode. I was like, oh, what's this? This seems kind of strange. But after using 40 hertz, I get it. It's much more preferable to 30 hertz.
Right. Okay.
Or
I'm
30
surprised it works
FPS.
so well because
Yeah,
I've never experienced 40.
like I could
Like
tell, I could tell the difference because I'm
you're
so
a
used
high
to high
FPS gamer.
refresh. I'm so used to high
Yeah.
refresh and stuff. Like because I can't. I struggle to go below 120 now because I'm so used to the
Yeah.
fluidity. I love like
You're in the upper echelons of the gaming.
I love like competitive shooters and
Yeah.
and very like competitive fluid
Mm,
games where it's all about very precise movements. But
and like move. Yeah.
I was so surprised how good 40 hertz mode was. So I'd be interested to see more like optimizations for the Steam Deck around 40 FPS rather than 30, or even like 50 FPS if you have the overhead. It would be like really, really cool to see. Again, Steam controller typing. Mother was like, "Oh, if you type in the chat, it's got this really cool feature where you control half of the keyboard with one analog and half the keyboard with the other analog, and it's like it is actually quite intuitive once you get used to it." And I was like, "I know that already. You do that on the Steam controller, and I really like it as well." So it's interesting to see like the design philosophy has carried over from Valve's earlier products that I've used, and I'm like, oh, this already makes sense to me because I've used these other products, and it is cool to see that stuff come to fruition.
Well, yeah, it's good. Like stuff that we know now works. Like they're still
Yeah,
like implementing it. They didn't just give up on it. Which I think is cool.
but yeah, that's my experience so far. It seems like a really, really cool piece of tech, and one thing I should mention: the microphone and the speakers on it are really good as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I listened to the speakers when I was there. The speakers are really good. And also, weeks ago, I was talking to my brother. So he said one thing that was, so I was trying to talk to him when I was on the Steam Deck, and he was saying like he was really struggling to get Discord running on it. Like Discord running on Linux is like a really tough thing to get going.
I know. Recently, Discord or someone is doing something with Discord to make it run easier with Linux. I don't know if that's from Discord themselves or someone else trying to like patch it.
I'll just call you on Steam chat, and I was like, holy shit, this sounds really good. Like the microphone built into the Steam Deck is really good.
Doesn't it have mobile microphones to try and like then like analyze it and try and like improve it through software, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it sounded good from what I heard. So
okay.
I've listened to the microphone of the Steam Deck, and I've seen the speakers, and yeah, it just seems like a really solid device. After using it, I was like, damn, I kind of wish I had one of these. Like,
isn't it? Okay, I'm just gonna say now. To me, it's crazy that like the most expensive Steam Deck is cheaper than my phone. Like,
it's crazy to me that like the most expensive Steam Deck is miles cheaper than like an Iron Neo or a GPD Win or whatever they're called, right? Like, that has like better hardware than like $1,000 handhelds.
But I guess they're doing it through like mass production and like
I think the
ties
like,
with manufacturers.
The price point on the smallest one says to me we need to compete with the Switch because the Switch.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The Switch has been holding that £300 mark in value for like the longest. I think like the Switch OLED is like around that price, like $350. Yeah. Am I around there? Because I was I was looking at. I was like, what if my friend was like, I really wanted to buy a Switch, right? And I was like, it must be a lot cheaper to buy a pre-owned one, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to be that much cheaper. Like you can get a brand new Switch, like the base one, for $250. The Switch OLED is like $310. Yeah.
So these are pre-owned, or these?
These are brand new.
These are brand new.
When I was looking at like refurbished Switches and like ones that or like pre-owned ones, they weren't that much cheaper than just buying new, which really confused me.
They hold their value.
And I was like, well, if they're holding their value, why wouldn't you just buy a new one?
Yeah, that's That's pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. And it's not like it's like a highlight lead. There's not like a 6-month lead time to get yourself a Switch. So I really don't understand it.
It's like, so this is a pre-owned Switch on eBay. I'm looking it up now. It's like, it's not new. Very good refurbished, £232. It's £250
Right.
brand new on Amazon.
Oh, you saving £20.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Why wouldn't you just buy a new one?
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like there's like some sort of a bubble of this. Like you don't want to like decrease it, otherwise, like everyone will start like selling it for less. Like, no, I want to sell it for more. But yeah, it just seems really stupid to me. Like, yeah, during the pandemic, it's like really hard to like, buy a new Switch, but that's like long now.
Wait,
So
there's some on eBay that just said they're selling for more than a new one, and they say improved battery life. They put
they've modded it. It's like a car. It's like a hot rod.
right. Okay.
I don't know.
I'm going down a
They
rabbit
just say
hole.
it's improved. Can you sell a Switch? Oh, sorry. Can you sell a Steam Deck and pretend it's a Switch and go improved?
But anyway, the point
Steam
was
Deck.
Switch OLED brand new 320, brand new Steam Deck base model 350. They're really trying to keep it around that point. Say, hey, I know the Switch is cool, but can you run your Steam library on it? Which I think is just the biggest selling point for the Steam Deck.
And it gets more FPS on the games that are on both Switch and the PC.
Although I haven't played Portal 2 on the Switch OLED, but I heard that playing Portal 2 on the Switch OLED is the preferable experience because it has the OLED screen, which the screen looks pretty good, but it's not an OLED. Got to say that.
Didn't Nvidia do the porting for that one, right?
Nvidia Lightspeed, the people who work on the what's the Nvidia Shield. There's I didn't put this on the docket, but fucking Logitech came out with a handheld. While we're talking about this, did you see the Logitech handheld?
Yes, I don't get it.
The Logitech
it's like
£50
cheaper. It's like 300, and it's like,
but
it's like, isn't it like cloud only?
It cost as much as like a base Steam Deck almost, and
it's 300. Oh my god, it's 350 out of sale. What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in dollars though.
And it's like, well, it comes pre-installed with Xbox Game Pass, and I'm like, well, that's not I can install Games Pass. It's not like a positive. Like you have to buy a Games Pass subscription.
Yeah. You get 3 months. You get 3 months free or something? No.
No, not in the box.
No. What?
But it's like he's got it pre-installed, Tony.
Yeah, but it's like 3 months free. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't get this product. Like this, like the Steam Deck exists. Get a Steam Deck. Genuinely.
I don't know. Like I understand the Nvidia Shield.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can get behind the Shields.
The Shield is like a good product because it allows it has the Tegra chip on it and allows like upscaling video. So if you watch like Netflix stuff in low resolution, it can upscale it, and it's like a good media device. I think it's one of the best media device things you can get.
You can use it like intermediate for like Plex storage.
That's my point about watching like digital stuff. How hard is it to watch like Netflix on the Steam Deck? But I don't think he's tried because he was like, I've got an iPad. I wouldn't really use that.
My dream is still that now the Steam Deck exists, like we now have like this. I don't know how many Steam Decks have sold, but like one of the most mass marketed like Linux machines out there, in my opinion. Like, I'm curious to know if we ever get that. Oh, we might as well make a Linux version because the Steam Deck exists. I'm really hoping that eventually happens.
So people are saying you can watch it via browser, so you can load up Netflix.
That's a good point.
On Chrome and then watch it through there.
I completely forgot you could do that. I thought it was a console. Sorry. Yeah. It's just a PC.
Well, that's how I was watching Netflix for the longest time. But I actually downloaded this is going from tangent. I downloaded the Netflix app when I didn't have internet because you can download
encrypted
episodes of stuff to watch in offline mode when you don't have internet. and I just started using the Netflix app, and I haven't gone back to using Chrome. I just use the Netflix app now. I think it's fine.
Doesn't it have better resolution as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, Chrome's capped to 720p, whereas the app will give you 1080p. If unless you have it hooked up to a recognized 4K display, and then it will go to 4K.
Right.
But it won't do stuff like 1440p. So I'm stuck to 1080p when it comes to Netflix quality. Anyway,
well, apparently some people have done some weird hackery, but I don't think it's working correctly yet. So maybe one day Netflix app on a Steam Deck.
Anyway, I think that's my main thoughts about the Steam Deck. I think my takeaways are it's really fucking cool. I want to play with it. I'm really impressed with it. I've used one and I'm very impressed. But I want to play around with it more. I think it's a really cool piece of technology.
We just need the OLED version now.
Steam Deck OLED. So I think the interesting thing was when the Steam Deck came out, it was Valve were like, shit, is this too powerful of a machine? Like, will people actually want this machine? Did they just want another like Switch on Steam sort of thing, where it's just like a very simple device? But I think they thought the big seller was going to be the base one, but then when they saw everyone buying the most expensive one, they're like,
oh really? Is that what people have been doing?
The most expensive one is by far the most popular one.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I assumed the bottom one would be okay.
No. But basically, they said after everything that came out, Steam were like, we didn't realize that people want bigger batteries with more life. They want They want it to be faster. They want it to be able to run more. Like they're gonna go back and come back with like a bigger, better deck, I guess. So
yeah. So I guess it works better in a dock experience as well. I suppose if it's more powerful.
Here's a question for you, Tony. After you've heard what I've said, and maybe I'll answer the question as well. Does this make you more interested in getting the Steam Deck, or does it make you more interested in what's coming next from Valve in terms of handheld consoles?
I'm interested in what's coming next, but like I think if I had a use case like today, like say like I was like I don't know, say I commute by train.
Every time I'm not in the house, I'm like, fuck, I wish I had a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I don't really leave. Like either I'm at home, I'm at work, or I'm driving. Like for me personally, like, I don't have any like downtime when I'm away from something I can do, or if I am, I'm driving and I can't do it. But genuinely, if I was commuting by train, I think I would want a Steam Deck, and I wouldn't wait for the next one. I'd get this one. Like this seems good enough, and it seems fantastic for already. But I'm also really interested to see what the next stuff comes.
I'm excited. I think the next thing we'll see from Valve, fingers crossed, is we'll see the VR stuff. That's what I'm really hoping for.
Yeah, I want to see more VR
because
stuff.
It seems like you could take the Steam Deck technology and you could turn that into a wireless VR headset where you could stream the computer.
It could be tethered as well. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'm excited because like from what I can tell, like I know like Valve is like very bad for like dropping projects, but it seems to me like they've dropped hardware projects, but like not in the same way because they seem to always like keep what they've learned and like move it to the next product.
So we can't be getting Steam Decks. The 4090 is coming out. We need to get that.
Sorry, yeah, I need to sell my house for that. So yeah.
Anyway, let's well, there's lots of news to talk about. It's very like trailer heavy towards the end because there's a lot of announcements, but we'll move on now. Deathloop has received an update. Deathloop: The Golden Loop is a brand new update which basically adds new abilities, new weapons, and new upgrades. They've added crossplay to the matchmaking, but the big thing they added was they've added a new extended ending.
Okay.
So this is part of their push as well because they've just added it to Games Pass. So it's finally available on Games Pass as well. So they're like, oh, tons of people are going to be playing the game. Why don't we do a quick update? I've done a Tangerine on Deathloop, I believe.
Yeah, we have.
My thoughts of the game are, Deathloop's an interesting game. I think the problem with Deathloop is it's made by Arcane, and I think just by virtue of being made by Arcane, it means it's one of my least favorite Arcane games. Not because the game's bad, but because Arcane just makes some of the best games ever. I think Prey, Dishonored 2 are some of the best games of all time. So it's really, really tough to follow those games up in the same way like a game like Bioshock 2 had to follow Bioshock 1, or Portal 2 has to follow Portal.
Yeah.
But this seems like a cool change. Like, it took a long time to get into Deathloop, I would say, because of the nature of the game. In the way where you have to keep repeating loops over and over again, and you eventually are forced into a very linear path through the loop in order to be able to beat it, sort of thing. Which I know some people didn't like, because a lot of the other games like Prey and Dishonored are like completely, although they're still sort of linear, they're more like open in how you approach it, I guess.
I saw someone say like, "Oh, Deathloop's like a perfect game because like it encourages you to like, because it's like so many like loops, like you're encouraged to like use different tactics." But like every review I've seen, including like your Tangerine, everyone seems to like stick to like one way of playing the game. Like I didn't see this. Oh, because there's multiple loops, I'm going to experiment sort of thing. So I don't actually agree with that. But yeah, I don't know.
How I played the game definitely did change throughout Deathloop, I would say.
Okay.
I started off playing it like Dishonored 2, and I would stealth every single level and be like, I'm going to sneak through. And then it got to the point where I was like, but I have to do this level like, 20 times. I can't sit here for an hour stealthing through the entire thing. So it got to the point where I just got a bunch of perks, and I got. It's actually kind of awesome when you loop a level enough that you're like, there's a guard over there, silence pistol. There's a guard over. There's an alarm over there. Turn that off. There's a guy over there. Take him out, and you just start. It's like Deathloop's like a speedrunning game. It's like a secret speedrunning game. You're optimizing every single level. I think it's a really cool game. I just think it's got such tough competition.
I just think for me,
compare it to other Arcane games.
For me, like it's just not a game for me. That the concept really doesn't. This is complete Tangerine, by the way, but it doesn't. The concept doesn't like intrigue me, and like the way it plays. Like,
the game is definitely worth playing. It's a really cool game. I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I think for most people, it's worth playing. But for me, like I'd rather play something like Prey. Like I realize Prey is like the best Arcane game, but
Prey is the best immersive sim.
I'm not interested in playing Deathloop.
I think. I mean, I think it's one of my favorite.
I think you made the case for that in the Tangerine. I think I would agree with that.
Such a cool game. I'm excited for what's the Redfall? Because that's
I'm interested in it.
Because that was another game where with Prey 2017, it got shown off in trailers, and it was like, oh, it's this really like linear horror game in the trailers, and everyone was like, well, it's like a horror game.
It's not a Dead Space.
And then it came out, and it's like a massive immersive sim, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? This is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then
so you're hoping it's like an immersive sim instead of a... Well, I guess we know it's not.
Redfall's being advertised as like, it's a Left 4 Dead game where you fight vampires, but then everything that came out, all the information that came out afterward was like, oh, you can play it completely single player, the co-op mode is optional, it will feature a full story campaign sort of thing. And it's like, oh,
yeah, okay,
so this is not what I was expecting sort of thing. But
I'm more interested with the other stuff that came out. Like from all the other stuff in the trailers, like it was not the concept. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm completely Tangerine because I'm going to Tangerine again. I think Arcane Studios is probably my favorite game studio right now. I absolutely adore them. I mean, if you asked me years ago, like what my favorite studios were, I would have said like Blizzard and Valve, but that has aged like milk. Because one of them doesn't make games, and one of them, well,
they don't make games either. They just make cash because of their old games.
But I think like right now, I'm super interested in like Arcane Studios, New Blood, Night Dive. Like those are that's the stuff I'm really into right now. Anyway, let's move on. So I watched the extended ending because it's like an extra hour. It's an extra like minute of content on the end to add on to the story, and I'm not going to play the entire game again to see the ending. So I just watched it online. And I was like, it's whatever. I didn't think it was that impressive. It adds a little bit onto the story, but it's sort of just like it's not really like it kind of ties up loose ends, I guess, but it's more just like feel good stuff about
just like fixing and adding, just tying up, crossing T's and.
A lot of people complained about the ending of Deathloop, and it has multiple endings. Like you choose how you want to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine that they're adding new stuff because it's on Games Pass, obviously, and there's going to be a lot more eyes on it, and the game is really fun. Yeah, let's move on. Turnip Boy robs a bank. The sequel to Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. Tony, Turnip Boy has he's upped his crimes. He's now robbing a bank.
Oh my god! You can't.
My prediction for the next title is the sequel to this will be called Turnip Boy Destabilizes a Country and Creates a Power Vacuum. That's my prediction.
Okay. Starts a war.
I have Turnip Boy commits tax evasion on my short lists of games.
Oh really? Okay.
Of games I want to try, so I'm going to try this at some point. The previous one, and I think this game looks really, really fun. The reason I'm bringing it up now. It's like a little.
It's a lot of energy in the animations and things. Like it's.
Well, I believe Scorn Retorts Michael has played it, and he said it's pretty fun, like the original game. So I'm interested to try it, and this looks really cool. I just think the titles of these games, if they keep getting more ridiculous, then I'm all in.
Yeah, I think it should only get more ridiculous. I think at some point it should just blow up, nuke the planet.
Well, it's like Saints Row, where they just kept going bigger and bigger, and then Saints Row 4, you were the president and you went into space and fought aliens. It was like, well, we have nowhere else to go from here. Let's reboot it.
Well, yeah, its trilogy was done. Like I don't have a problem with even if it was I guess technically the new one was a soft reboot because different characters. Right? I don't have a problem with that as a concept because it was done. Like if it
Tony,
with this ridiculousness.
I've eaten up a lot of time, but I'm going to hand it to you because there's a still.
Oh, you're meeting a lot much time.
Yes,
okay.
Because
I'll try and keep it concise because it's not. This is something like Solaris. This is a species pack. It's not like a big expansion or like a big update. So I'll try and keep it brief.
Yeah.
So you link to I've actually seen the trailer properly. I've just seen it in the background and stuff. Yeah. So this is the Toxoid species pack, and can I just say I really like the look of the new ships. The ship set itself is really fucking cool.
I like the idea of toxic sort of races fueled by this stuff. What's the name of the ones in Voyager that just freighted huge toxic things and just dump them as part of their society?
Well, speaking of which, Joe, you're gonna love one of the I don't know how people feel about requiring 2 DLCs to get a content, but technically, if you have Megacorps and this one, you will get I think it's 2 new, maybe just 1, but you get at least 1 civic when you start your empire to become basically you're toxifying your world for more industry, basically destroying it. So you can do that. That's now a thing you can do. So you can roleplay as a Voyager species we can't remember the name of. I want to know what they're. Joe, can you figure out what they're called?
I just typed Star Trek Voyager races, and I'm getting a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Star Trek Voyager races.
But yeah, so all species packs since Lithoids, basically normally with species pack, for species packs, you'd get avatars for your little pictures your new species, right? And you get the new.
It's just showing me all the cool ones, but not the one I'm looking for.
No,
I know the Kazon and the Herosian and the.
I don't want those. I want the shit ones.
I just need a.
But yeah, so I was saying, so the other thing that they've now added since Lithoid is that if you select the I don't know if it's locked off between this, but I'm going to assume it is. So I'm going to say this. If you choose that one of the Toxoid picture frames for your species, you'll then get access to special traits, and some of them are really crazy. There's ones where it's other species get less habitability, but you get more happiness. Or you release a lot of gases. It's a gas is a strategic resource in Civ, if you know Civ. So it's just kind of interesting that you can the whole thing about toxic stuff is exactly like this Voyager species that we don't know the name of. Is you're destroying the environment around you to be able to get more industry. But the other thing that's been like, because I think I can't remember when it was now. I think it was some point Origins got added to the game, and then every species pack got retroactively added Origins to it. So the Origin, I don't know if we see it at the start of the trailer, but have you seen the Toxic God Origin, Jay? So it's just really weird. It's like you choose if you choose this origin, like basically
the Malon. I thought they were called the Malon, but I couldn't find anything.
Malon.
I really like the Malon. I think they're one of my favorite species in Star Trek.
Yeah, they're interesting.
Their entire planet is just powered by these like massive toxic.
Yeah, even their warp stuff is like, even their warp stuff like dumps like toxic stuff and like destabilizes space, right?
Yeah, and they just essentially their entire economy is based on taking these huge ships and just dumping all of this waste somewhere, and they have like the society based on the people who have to deal with the waste the most are like the lower down society, whereas the people who are not like dying and dumping this toxic waste everywhere, like the rich in the high up society.
We're also told, but never really shown, that their capital world is like a beautiful paradise.
Mm.
It's like, okay, well, it doesn't. We never see it. I have to believe you.
I just want to say, Star Trek Picard Season 3. Let's go to the Malon homeworld.
Yeah,
there it is.
But yeah, so the origin you get with the toxic pack is like the toxic god. So you start with less pops, and like you've been visited by like a giant toxic creature basically, and then you have these knights who like, I guess, are religious in some respect because they really like the toxic god. They want to like find where the toxic god is in space. So like you don't have to like this is a new system from I can't remember what version it is, but they added like situation stuff, which like now the questing stuff is like actual quests sort of thing, which is very, very interesting. So it's like a super long quest line that takes you to like late game to then get control of like a toxic offspring. That's technically spoilers, so I'm sorry for ruining the toxic god quest line at the end. There's like interesting stuff like all the way through though, from what I've seen, but just find it, it's just really interesting. The other thing as well is that you get civics as well. I can't remember what all of them are, but almost all of them is like you've sacrificed your world to be able to. So I think one of them is like you can turn your planet to a tomb world and get some tomb world habitability by just destroying the planet for resources. But interestingly, I assume you don't know this, but like there's been small toxic uninhabitable worlds in Solaris like since like the base game.
Yeah.
Now you can get an ascension perk where you can turn these they're normally tiny toxic planets. You can now, if you go down this line, you can then start terraforming it. But I think it's more complicated. But you can like terraform them into to normal worlds. They're like small size 10 worlds instead of normally like normal planets like size 12 to 25. So these are like tiny size 10 planets. But I just find it interesting that you now have this option to like detoxify some certain planets. It's just very
another
interesting.
Terraforming thing.
Yeah, more terraform, which I'm pro. Having more interesting ways to terraform. I believe that's it.
I've got lost in the Memory Alpha wiki reading about core laborers in the Malon export vessels who get paid like massive money to be very close to these data storage tanks, and they get like more money than Malons usually get in their lifetime. So what usually happens is the money goes to their families instead.
But they die really early.
Just seen something. So I was looking. Apparently, there's Malon and the hierarchy people. You know, those guys who always spy on people, and they go, "The hierarchy will hear about this." Apparently, they're in Star Trek Online. I'm completely tangerining about Star Trek.
This is beta lore then.
No, I was just looking. Apparently, the actress who played Kai Wynn in DS9 has just died. Like yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah. Rip.
That sucks. Well, actually, she's dead, and her character died.
That sucks because Kai Wynn's one of the best characters in all of Star Trek. So, like, legitimately, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're talking about space, Civ. I'm tangerining about.
What I'm gonna say, Solaris really lets you role play as Star Wars, Star Trek, and little parts of Warhammer, sort of.
40K.
So like, and XCOM. So it's like it tries to be a bit of everything, all sci-fi stuff.
Right. Shall we go on to the quick news?
Yeah, let's go. Only 45 minutes in.
Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection PC will also support DLSS along with FSR. Naughty Dog Vice President Arnie Meyer confirms. Wolfenstein 3D.
CXS.
Wolfenstein 3D has been unbanned and officially released in Germany, so this is uncensored with all the pictures of Hitler everywhere.
Oh, you'd love to see that.
Even Wolfenstein Enemy Territory as well. I think Return to Castle Wolfenstein is still in like a limbo where it's not re-released. I don't know what's going on with that.
Could you not just buy? I don't know how easy it is to do that, but can you not just buy like a different region? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
That's literally what people were saying on Reddit. Mm-hmm. You can just buy a third-party key and get it in Germany quite easily. Is how people are doing. Why am I so?
I mean, it's like because like Europe's like a really open market, so like you can't really.
Well, let me make this
hide some of this.
The second remake of 13 is out. And it looks a lot better than the original remake of 13.
Okay.
So it's a free update. It came out this month or last month. And it seems like it's a lot better than the original, but people are still saying the original 13 is still the best way to play the game. I had a friend load it up recently. I'm going to play it soon at some point if it's on my wheel. But it seems like it's not that easy to get to run on modern systems, the classic version of 13. So this could be a good way to play it now, because there is trouble getting like mouse acceleration aiming working on the really old version on Steam. At least I know maybe the GOG version has like patches already installed. We'll see when I try it myself, but yeah. Metal Hellsinger, I did a Tangerine on this for a demo festival. It's the like rhythm FPS game.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. With like really, really not artists I know because I'm not big into rock music, but really big rock music artists.
Metal,
metal
rock,
stuff that
metal
people
stuff.
seem to be into. They have announced that they will be adding custom music modding support for the PC version. So that's cool to see. So
yeah.
That would add a lot of longevity to the game. Subnautica Below Zero has got the What the Doc update, which is the first major post-launch update. I saw this update and I was like, oh yeah, it's game launched and came out of early access. That's a game that I'll have to... I think it came out like a month or two ago.
Okay.
Recently, though. It's been in early access for a couple of years now, I think.
Yeah.
It came out of early access. This release date, the 14th of May 2021. I don't know if that's released onto early access. I'll check the news and events and look for the one titled 1.0 and tell you the date.
Below Zero 1.0 unstuck button.
Look. Really? Below Zero 1.0. Oh, it came out of early access last year. Okay, I'm really fucking behind on this thing. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'll buy Below Zero because usually with early access games, I just wait for them to come out of early access and then I play them when they're fully done. I think that's the best way to do it.
Especially something like this where it's like storied map stuff. So
because I've played the original Subnautica and I absolutely adore it. And so I was like, oh, I should play Subnautica Below Zero. And I was like, okay, let's go and purchase it. Oh, I already own the game, so I'm going to play it at some point. But this update adds custom game modes, so you can change like the time of day and change like hunger alerts, thirst alerts, how much. You can completely customize the game to however you want to play. Sea truck dock base piece, so you can dock your sea truck into your base, and a bunch of bug fixes. You get a bunch of bug fixes, including fixing the Steam Cloud saves, which were broken for a really long time. Yeah. Let's move on to EA news. EA is releasing their own kernel anti-cheat. They have they've made their own like kernel level anti-cheat, similar to stuff like Vanguard, I guess, for Valorant. That Riot does its own kernel level anti-cheat.
Yeah.
Is easy anti-cheat kernel level?
I thought it was no. I thought almost all of them. I guess yeah.
Easy anti-cheat BattleEye and XIGN Code 3 are all third-party anti-cheat that already deploy and operate in kernel level. So
Okay.
seems like most of them are kernel level at this point, but apparently they've worked with independent third-party security and privacy accessors to validate EA anti-cheat does not degrade the security posture of your PC and to ensure strict data privacy boundaries. It does not
I would
say
like to see the reports.
It does not say who these third parties are at all, or provide any data on this.
Yeah, can I just say, even if we knew who they were and they're like the most respectable company ever, you still want to see the reports. It's not good enough just to say we got this known person to do it. Yeah, that's
so this is cool.
Release the report.
Battlefield 5, when I played that on Origin, was pretty bad for cheaters. Like, I think some of the games have had a lot of problem with cheaters, so it's good that they're doing something about it.
Yeah.
Or at least something
It's good that acknowledging that security issues with other anti-cheats. I'll give them that.
I mean, because, like, myself, so I was thinking about Apex. So Apex already uses easy anti-cheat. So I wonder if they will move Apex over from easy anti-cheat over to their own EA anti-cheat. Because that's immediately the game I think of. Like, that's their most competitive multiplayer
Are there
game
cheaters on Apex?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I've seen them myself. I mean, I can play for the longest time. There was lots of cheaters on. I think in the beginning there was lots of cheaters and they didn't update the game ever, despite being like insanely popular. Maybe that was an anti-crunch thing. But
yeah, maybe.
So I wonder if they'll move Easy Anti-Cheat over to EA Anti-Cheat, which is really confusing because Easy Anti-Cheat is called EAC and Electronic Arts Anti-Cheat is called EAAC. Do you see the confusion now?
Yeah.
Well, let's just hope they can add EAAC to Titanfall 2 and stop everyone hacking the multiplayer servers and making them unplayable.
Yeah.
The thing that really confused me was they were like, I'm sitting there and going like, okay, talk about like Battlefield or Apex Legends. These are your big competitive games. And then they go, yeah, with easy anti-cheat, we'll be able to secure FIFA 2023. This is our most competitive game. We have to make sure we got the anti-cheat for FIFA 23. And I'm like...
The thing is, though, it probably makes them the most money.
Yeah, to be fair. But it was the only game they mentioned.
Oh, they didn't mention anything else. It was just okay. That's weird.
They just said they work with third parties. They're going to start with FIFA, and
they only release multiplayer games at this point.
They're not adding. They're not going to. They also said that they made sure this wouldn't affect single-player games.
Right.
Wait, so they're going to add this to cheat developers use single-player game modes to reverse engineer a game or experiment with tampered game files to help them develop a cheat, then bring those altercations back into online multiplayer game modes. In addition to preventing active cheating during online play, EA Anti-Cheat also prevents cheat developers from using single-player modes in these ways. Protecting single-player game modes is necessary to hamper cheat development.
But surely you just don't load the anti-cheat stuff into single-player so you can't load it offline. I don't understand that, unless there's somehow tricking it.
So an EA Anti-Cheat only runs when a game with EA Anti-Cheat protection is also running. It doesn't turn on with your PC, although it is.
That's good. That's actually really good. That is actually like a security thing that's like good. There's still other issues potentially with like kernel level stuff and like how it operates, but that's actually like at least step one.
They say that they've tried to not degrade gameplay at all. We'll have to see if the performance hit at all. But
I would love to see this independent report. That'd be great.
Next up for EA News. The Sims 4 will be free to download across PC, Mac, and consoles on October 18th. If you're like, whoa, they're giving away The Sims 4 for free, just look at the DLC page for The Sims 4 and all will become clear.
Also, Sims 4 famously, and I guess still does, they never added it to the base game, like release with content that was in base game of previous games and is no longer in the base game of Sims 4 and they've added it in DLC. So yeah, most of the game is in DLC and the DLC is stupendously, like £34 or your regional equivalent.
They're giving away a game for free from 2014. What's going on? Is this Epic Games launcher? No, this is EA making more DLC money. Let's move on to Steam news. New Steam page now. Real-time and weekly Steam charts. A new home for charts showcasing the top-selling and most-played games on Steam. This was done massively through third-party stuff like Steam Stats and Steam Spy, who would have to use estimates. They couldn't have accurate numbers through these third-party websites, but now Steam has an official page that you can use, which is really cool to see. And
this is really good.
I haven't checked, but I'm going to guess now TF2 will be in the top 10 games for concurrent players. I'm just going to concurrent players. Yeah. So look.
Correct.
Most played games. Would you look at that? Team Fortress 2 is in the top 10 most played games on Steam. TF2 never dies. It never goes below like 100 concurrent players. Like it's so popular. Yeah. Man, I'm surprised Lost Ark is still so popular.
Yeah, I was gonna say now Lost Ark's got to third. That's insane.
Maybe they did an update for it or something. It's interesting because I like looking at this stuff and going like, "Oh, this game's really popular right now." Like, Cyberpunk's been like massively popular recently because
that's now above TF2.
Not only did they announce the DLC, they did the big update, and then they announced more dates were coming to like the police and stuff. But the Cyberpunk Edge Runner anime came out on Netflix, and I watched it, and I think it's actually pretty good. I've seen
most people say it's really good.
Because I've watched all of the Witcher stuff on Netflix, and I think that's really good. And I've seen the Cyberpunk stuff, and I think that's really good. So it seems like CG Projekt Red are doing good stuff, at least working with people. I think it was Trigger what did the animation for CG Projekt Red.
I believe that's correct.
They worked with CG Projekt Red making it, so I'm not sure how much is Trigger, how much was CG Projekt Red.
But Edge Runner believe a lot of it is Trigger.
And I literally watched Edge Runner and I was like, oh, this Cyber Psycho stuff is really, really cool. It makes me want to play Cyberpunk. Like, I think that was the intended effect, and it looks pretty cool. So
basically, from what I can tell, people saw it on Netflix watching it. Oh, this is pretty good. Oh yeah, Cyberpunk.
That's
better now.
I kind of watched it by accident because I was watching someone else's stream, and they'd partnered up with Cyberpunk, and essentially what Cyberpunk was doing was like, we're going to stream the first 3 episodes on Twitch for free as like a teaser sort of thing. So I watched the first 3 episodes. I was like, well, that was pretty good. I'm going to watch the rest sort of thing. So I guess
I do know as well in the actual update of the game, they added stuff that was in the show. That was like to me that kind of shows a lot of this came from like Trigger's
from watching the show. I think most of the soundtrack is just songs from the game.
Oh, really?
So I've been listening to a lot of the songs from the game through watching the show. I'm like, damn, there's some really good music in Cyberpunk. I think didn't Cyberpunk win like Soundtrack of the Year last year in the Steam Awards?
I believe it won something like that. Yeah.
So that's
it definitely got an award somewhere.
I mean, Steam Awards is coming up soon, and I'm going to be very angry when certain games that I really enjoyed don't win stuff. I think something, if they do the soundtrack thing again, I think something dumb's going to win it. I'm really hoping Neon White gets a nomination because the soundtrack for Machine Girl is so good.
It isn't that insane, but I find it interesting that Elden Ring is still like number 25 on this list.
That game is so popular. I think Elden Ring is essentially. I think Elden Ring.
It's a single-player game. It's crazy.
Elden Ring will be the GTA 5 of the Steam Awards this year. It will fill the Cyberpunk. GTA 5.
I agree with that prediction.
Elden Ring, Game of the Year. Elden Ring, Best Soundtrack. Elden Ring, Best Anime Visual Novel Game.
Yeah. Here it goes.
And then next up, announcing Steam Screenfest. So we have the official announcement of the Halloween sale and event. There will be happening from October 25th until November 1st. You'll be able to get your spooky games. So that's pretty cool to see. I'm excited. I'm going to
consider all of October spooky season soon, but okay.
Yeah, when October hits, I don't know if I'm going to try and.
I'm gonna wait a week actually. Now I think about it.
Well, what I've been doing is I was very anti-spooky season because it was pissing me off that it was so close to Christmas, and I was like, I have to wait.
That close to Christmas.
I have to wait until spooky season's over to do Christmas stuff, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to embrace spooky season. So I started now a tradition where I just only play spooky games around October. And I've been quite enjoying that. There's some games I'm really looking forward to playing. Like I'm going to play the next Dark Anthology game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I played Man of Medan last year and streamed with some friends. This year I'm going to be playing Little Hope, I think it's called.
I have no idea what any of those games are called, but okay.
And then I'll play the next one, and then next year, and then the next year after that I'll be playing The Quarry, and I'll just keep playing them every year.
Yeah. Cool. My plan for spooky seasons, I'm going to decorate my room earlier.
And I'm going to wait a week. And guys, I'm going to be playing TF2, because TF2 is a spooky game. Scream Fortress, everybody.
Yeah.
We got
Did they update TF2 recently?
Yeah.
Like with anything?
Bug fixes.
Okay. No, as in like, how many years has it been? Like it's just like the same spooky season.
They add like new community maps. And they do like the tracker thing, but not really any big content updates. Really, it's kind of like TF2 sort of on support maintenance mode.
Right. Despite being number 8 on the most played game.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like if any other company in the world owned TF2, they would be releasing weekly updates for it.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. Let's move on to Blunders. Tony, Babylon's Fall has been delisted on Steam. Do you want to talk about this? This game came out this year.
And
it's already been delisted after existing on Steam for about 6 months.
Didn't the servers get taken down not too long ago?
So, this was developed by Platinum Games, which is a pretty well-received studio. They've made a lot of cool games in the past. Most famously, Bayonetta is their like most popular game. They're very good at making like action adventure hack and slashy games. Published by Square Enix. You go, oh, Platinum Games, published by Square Enix. I haven't even heard of this game. Where did it all go wrong? So, if you've not heard of this game, it was a live service game that cost £60, and it was full of microtransactions, and it had one person playing it. No,
it was really boring as well.
I'm not joking. Literally, at one point, it had one concurrent player playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
This game just completely flopped. I mean, it just
on Steam only has 447 reviews.
Like they were like, hey, all these other scumbags are releasing full price live service games. Why don't we just release one and make a bunch of money? It'll be easy, they said.
Yeah. I would say in comparison, so like obviously like another like massive flop was like Marvel's Avengers, right? That's also produced by Square Enix. But just a comparison, that has over 18,000 reviews. This has 447.
I mean, like if you look at like games that came out strong and then flopped, Artifact released on Steam and had like 60,000 people buy the game at least, and then just completely flopped, sort of thing. So
there's just like no one knew about it. Like everyone looked at it and go, "What the hell is this?" Like no one cared about the concept, the premise.
The thing is, no one will remember Babylon's Fall, and
nope.
That's probably how it should be. Seeing as like
it sucked.
It came out.
Jim Sterling played it. They're like, it sucks. When did it come out? March. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I even forgot when it came out.
So, okay, so the live the live service of this game, this live service game, so it's a game that's going to keep being updated, and you're like buying into it because like, well, if I buy into it, it'll keep going and more content will be added. It doesn't even last 6 months being able to buy it, and in February next year it will be shut down. So it won't even make a year of. You won't even get a year of your live service.
No.
They're shutting down the servers. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Oh, there was a bunch of Assassin's Creed games that were announced from Ubisoft, and I did not report on them because I don't give a shit. I don't care about them. What I do care about is this report that devs don't want to work on the new Assassin's Creed Red game because of the project's lead's abuse allegations.
No,
it seems
like
the
abuser. Oh, God.
Ubisoft is still not firing people with abuse allegations of sexually harassing employees.
They just move them around.
And they just move them around and wait for heat to die down, and then they're like, well, it's fine now. People forgot about, the demands made against Ubisoft.
Yeah, I refuse to forget. It's kind of like apologies, but they say that they're going to do something. It's like, well, that's fine when you do it. It's kind of like that, and it's like, yeah, well, that's great when you fix it.
It's fine. It's fine, Ubisoft. I have no interest in buying the game, so I will not be. You don't even make it. It's fine. I won't play it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to tech. Okay.
Nice. With tech news, nice.
Big tech news. The RTX 4090 and 4080 graphics cards were announced. The 4070 was also announced, but for some reason it's got the name 4080.
They put the wrong number in, I think.
So let's talk about the cool stuff. 4090 and 4080 look like very, very powerful, cool cards. DLSS 3 is really, really cool technology, being able to but essentially render new frames based on the AI data, which should add a lot of performance. But also, you may not want to use it in competitive games where latency is really important. Like I think it may have been Cyberpunk or another game they were using it with. They were using it in conjunction with NVIDIA ultra low latency reflex in order to offset that latency between the frames, sort of thing. So let's talk about the cards. The RTX 4090 is 24 gigabytes of G6X memory. It's 2 to 4, according to NVIDIA, 2 to 4 times faster than the 3090 Ti. So the estimate here is 2 times faster in rasterized performance, non-ray tracing, and then 4 times faster in ray tracing. This is coming out October 12th, so that's even like 2 weeks and a half from now. It's kind of crazy that it's going to be announced, or it's going to be coming out, and it's going to be 1,650 Great British Pounds.
It's bloody expensive.
I think the initial reaction from these cards being announced was, they are super fucking expensive. Jesus Christ. NVIDIA is selling them at pandemic scalping prices right now.
If they are actually 2 times faster, that kind of makes sense. But I just think, one comparing between generation, I do believe in like comparing price to price. That's kind of how. But obviously people are like, oh, but 90 to 90, surely, and 80 to 80 is like, no, not if the price increases.
They also announced the 4080. The 4080 won't be coming out until November, I believe. But also,
they just said November. They didn't give an exact date.
AMD has also announced their new line of GPUs are coming out in November, so it's going to be really interesting to see.
Well, they've announced,
these stack up against the 7000 series.
Yeah. They've announced their announcement to launch the announcement for the actual release of the card.
So the 4080 is apparently 2 to 4 faster than the 3080 Ti. The 16 gigabyte G6X will be starting at £1,200. I think it's
which is the same as that's the same price as the 3080 Ti on launch, wasn't it? Was it even more expensive?
Somewhere around there, yeah. I think the 3080 is around 1K.
I just find it crazy that the 3070 renamed is like still more expensive than the 3080. The 4080 renamed is more expensive than the 30. 4080. Am I saying?
No.
The 4080 12GB is more expensive than the 3080, right? Like, I just find that crazy.
Well, some people are saying like, so there's two versions. There's the 16GB and the 12GB, and that's how they go.
Yeah.
They advertise it as going, you're losing about 4 GB of VRAM, but that is not the case.
That's just like
you were a bit
that's just
confused
top
about
down.
this, and I was like,
Yeah,
no,
I didn't realize
you
it went
need to
deeper
look
into
at the
this.
numbers. So the 480 16GB and the 480 12GB are completely different GPUs. Like the
actual core is a different number.
There's
Yeah,
2,000 less CUDA cores on the 12GB compared to the 16GB.
I can't remember what the actual GPU cores are called, but it's something like AV. Like the 4090 is like AV2, the 4080 16 is like AV3, and 12GB is AV3, which is normally in the 70 series. So
the 4080's got that 256-bit memory interface, where the 4080's got 192. You're losing 200 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth. Like, it's going to be more power efficient, but not by much.
No,
and considering, like,
I think it's just power.
It seems based on like leaked stuff, it seems like Nvidia were going to announce this as the 4070, and then they course corrected when they realized that they could get away with calling it the 4080 to try and confuse people.
Well, are they getting away with it? Because there's a lot of angry people on the internet right now.
So essentially, it seems like let's talk about some of the technical. They moved to TSMC's 4nm process for the,
which is very expensive, by the way.
This series of GPUs. Moore's law is dead, apparently. I mean, prices of GPUs are going down. We've seen this.
Moore's law is dead. Why is this 2 to 4 times faster?
Because if you don't understand, Moore's law is essentially you can get twice the performance of a thing from the past for a similar cost now, sort of thing. But essentially what Nvidia has been saying and what people have been saying is the price of component manufacturers going up massively, that's not the case anymore. Although we're really going to have to wait and see what AMD comes out with, because it seems like from what we've seen, AMD could potentially be competitive all the way up to the 4080 while just completely price cutting out Nvidia. We'll have to see how greedy AMD gets.
But they're also buying 4nm TSMC as well, though, aren't they? So like, I feel
I'm not 100% sure on that.
All I know is that I've seen graphs of like actual TSMC manufacturing and like the cost per generation, and like this new 4nm is like something ridiculous. Like it's like 60% more expensive, if not more, than like the previous.
But like the way Nvidia's taking the crown back in terms of like performance, they're not giving a shit about efficiency. These are some thirsty boys when it comes to energy. Tony, can you believe that we're at a point where the PSU requirement for a graphics card is 850 watts? Like, that seems crazy.
That's minimum, basically.
You remember when somebody was like, I got 1,000-watt power supply, and people would laugh at them, like, why would you ever need 1,000 watts
You're running
power?
3 graphics cards, are you?
But now it's like 1,000 watts. That seems pretty conservative.
Yeah, it's stupid.
And
you're probably going to want an ATX 3.0 power supply as well to have the communication lanes, like so the
so an interesting thing about the PSU cables is you need 3x 8 pins, or Nvidia's is working with new power supply manufacturers where you'll be able to do a single PCIe 5.0 connector straight from the GPU to the power supply as your one power cord sort of thing. Or have to wait until those PSUs come out.
Yeah, I would wait until you have like in my opinion, I wouldn't use like my current generation power supplies and like convert it to like this card. I would honestly wait for the new power supplies so you have that communication line. So I think that's going to be very important so the graphics card doesn't destroy your PSU.
Another thing to announce, so they announced DLSS 3 for as part of the new card launch. DLSS 3, specifically the new technology, will be exclusive to the 40 series cards because fundamentally the way the technology works, it's not possible on the 20 series cards as far as I understand it, but I could be wrong. People will probably go, Nvidia, you liars, this does work on the 20 series and the 30
it'll probably
series
be bad,
cards.
is my assumption,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's going to be new RT cores and
But
like
to
AI cores
sum it up, it seems like they have so much stock left of 30 series. I don't know if you saw before they announced this, they were just trying to dump stock of the 30 series cards.
Much to the angerment of like people like EVGA who like have to then sell it at a loss, and then Nvidia aren't selling it at a loss, and
before. I went on Nvidia's website in case because I was looking at I was waiting for them to announce the new cards, and I was like, I want to get a new GPU because I'm 2 generations behind now. I'm on the 20 series, and I was like, if they announce it's available now, I want to be on the website so I can see what the price is and whether I can quickly get one in case they've run out of stock very quickly. You could buy a 3090 Ti from Nvidia's website in stock for £1,000. Doesn't that seem crazy based on where we've come from? That it is actually going down to like a 3090 Ti for a K on just through Nvidia Founder Edition. That's an insane amount of money. But based on where we were like a year or two ago, that seems insane.
Mm-hmm. It is impressive in terms of pricing.
But it's like Nvidia's like, prices are not going down for GPUs. We have to release the 40 series at this price. Meanwhile, we can't sell any of my 30 series. We're having to massively cut prices because we have so much inventory of them now.
You know what? Okay, going back to the expensive pricing of these things, technically, they didn't have to do this. Like, I get, fine, the new TSMC node, the new GPUs that they're making, and is more expensive. But they didn't have to make the product. They didn't have to move the entire product stack up. In my opinion, this is all controlled. Not all controlled, but it's heavily controlled by what Nvidia wants for the product stack, and they just want we can get more money out of people wanting the best stuff. They could have just capped it out and gone, no one wants to pay $1,600 for a GPU. Let's just cap it out at $1,200.
This is so let's go more into the technology because there's some really cool game stuff as well. So NVIDIA DLSS 3, a new technique, is cool because it generates entirely new frames. So essentially, it adds in interpolated frames between real ones to dramatically increase frame rates.
Yeah, it's increasing performance magically.
This has a kind of a bad effect on input latency. So again, as I said, it is combined with reflex to reduce input latency as much as possible. But this reduces the load on both the CPU and the GPU, so you can actually see frame rate benefits in both CPU and GPU limited frames through DLSS, which is insane to me that you could actually fix CPU bottleneck games with your graphics card. Insane. I was like, that's really cool.
Crazy. Imagine all this with direct storage when that finally comes. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. One of the things that
Microsoft
really...
fix them.
I was watching the live stream live, and I just went nuts when I saw this. I was like, what the fuck? Why is Portal on my screen? And I was like, holy shit, they've added ray tracing to Portal. This is insane. So
it looks fantastic.
I love the look of this. I think it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even if I don't have a 40 series card, I will be playing this on my 2080 Super because this is coming in November 2023 as a free DLC for owners. So you can there's a store page for this, so you just have to download this through Steam, and you'll be able to play through the entirety of the original Portal with ray tracing and DLSS. I think that this looks really good. You will also be able to play this with DLSS 3.0 as well if you have a 40 series card. Yeah, I was just blown away by this. I don't need an excuse to play Portal again, but this is a great one.
Yeah.
This is also
it looks really good.
It's also being made by Lightspeed Studios, who did the NVIDIA Shield Android port of Portal, and they also did the recent Switch port of Portal. So it makes sense these guys have a lot of expertise with the Portal game.
Yeah.
But there was also another thing announced, which was NVIDIA Omniverse. Because I said, Tony, have you seen the Morrowind mod from the NVIDIA thing?
Yeah.
You're like, what?
And when I saw this, I couldn't believe it was Morrowind.
So this is a new tool called NVIDIA Omniverse. I don't like the name because it's like immediately reminds me of like metaverse stuff, but I hope it's not like too much about that. It's essentially it's a super powerful modding tool. So any game with a DirectX or Direct9 with modding support, modders can bring it into this tool and essentially add real-time ray tracing, lighting, AI enhanced textures onto it, and then export it as a 64 x64 or Vulkan executable to add back into the game as a mod sort of thing. And this is all done without direct manipulation or modification to the game's original assets or executable. It's done entirely in the D3, D9 runtime. So you don't need to interact. You don't need to change anything about the game file specifically. It's done through the actual runtime thing, which is why it's exclusive to like DirectX 8, DirectX 9 games, these older games.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not a 40 series exclusive either. You will be able to.
Their tools, right?
You will need an RTX GPU to be able to run this tool, so you'll need at least a 20 series baseline. But once this is exported and somebody makes a mod for this, and you wanted to try Morrowind RTX,
I can just quickly say that Morrowind is in the description of the title, but right at the start, that's also Elder Scrolls 5. That's Skyrim as well.
Yeah,
we've seen both.
I think at the beginning they were showing off a modder's work, maybe not done in Omniverse. I'm not sure if that's Omniverse in the beginning, because they have a link to somebody else's channel, Sync Gaming Mods. What was I going to say? Oh, so yeah, it's not 40 series exclusive. You do need an RTX GPU to use the tool, but once it's exported and uploaded as a mod, any GPU can run the mod as long as it has ray tracing. So you just need a ray tracing. You could run this on an Intel GPU. You can run this on an AMD GPU. It is agnostic, the actual running of the mod, which is
just really insane. Cool. Like considering what base Morrowind looks like turning it on, it's kind of insane.
Yeah, I saw this and I was absolutely blown away by the potential of. Again, it's not a button you press on your computer and immediately every old game you run is now magically ray traced.
This is a lot of effort to
DirectX or DirectX 9 modders will be able to bring this into Omniverse, render it, and send it out there for you to be able to download and patch into your game, sort of thing. But this is going to make it a lot easier to do this sort of thing.
Yeah,
which is just crazy. Slide. I think this looks amazing. So I'm really excited for Portal RTX, and I think
I want to say I feel like this is the start of RTX finally becoming the primary. I still don't think we're there yet, but I think this is the start of it becoming the primary rendering way of doing
taking over rasterization.
I don't think we're there yet, but I think this is almost the cliff before it's inevitable sort of thing. Very curious because the dream is it'll be easier for developers to make things with ray tracing stuff instead of rasterization because you just go, we don't need to think about baking all this stuff that's going to take ages. It's just you just make these sections for ray tracing and then you're done. So I think we're finally getting there.
Right before this conference, just quickly, EVGA terminated its NVIDIA partnership, citing disrespectful treatment of third-party vendors for GPUs. I think it was interesting looking more into this, where essentially they said they weren't going to work with Intel or AMD either. They were just we're completely getting out of the GPU business.
Yeah, they're just not doing GPUs. No.
Which I thought was interesting. And it's also interesting that it seems like NVIDIA's been. I think they've even said they want to get to a point where they're like Apple, where they just make their own
Yeah, Jensen has said that they want to be vertically integrated.
They just want to make their own cards and not have these third-party card makers, but they still have
Which
them
is
at the
why
moment.
there are people concerned when they're trying to buy ARM because they knew that that Jensen wanted that, and it's like, well, they're just going to close off ARM to everyone else. So why the hell would you allow that acquisition?
Yeah. Let's move on to
It's
VR.
interesting. It's a shame because EVGA have done some cool stuff. Like I feel
Yeah,
like
I really like EVGA GPUs. I think they're cool.
they're kind of not too well off the GPU market, in my opinion. Like they have some really good engineers, and
No, the not
yeah,
to the GPU market is Asus. Is it Asus who did the not to Asus GPU?
that's true. But in terms of engineering, like how they actually operate, to me, it's like
Yeah,
EVGA is like
Asus.
very similar to how Noctua operates.
Let's go into VR news because we're not even to the main news yet. We're already an hour and a half in.
We'll just skip the menus. It's fine.
PSVR games will not be compatible with PSVR 2. I don't think
Oh
this
yeah,
is.
I saw that. This is so. I don't get it.
It's not. Well, it's not too much of a shocker when you consider like most of the PSVR games ones were played with a controller rather than motion controls, and they.
But why
The
can't you just
one
plug a controller in?
right, but it's going to be a completely different experience where I think a lot of the PSVR games would have to completely be remade to be able to work with PSVR
Well,
2.
there's also a lot of games that just use the move controllers. I don't see the difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like No Man's Sky on PSVR 1 uses move controllers, not a controller. I don't see the difference. I genuinely do not understand. Like even if it's like, oh, it doesn't, oh, it will play differently. It's like, but
But there's like
surely the hardware can run it.
there's like a massive difference in like rendering. I think if you took a PSVR 1 game without changing anything about it and just ran it on PS5, it would look awful in a PSVR 2
Yeah,
headset.
I don't disagree, but like I just find it crazy they're not even like allowing it. Like it say like I've come in, I've not got a PSVR, but oh the PSVR 2 looks really good and it has all these features that the PSVR 1 just doesn't have. But oh I can't play anything that's on PSVR 1. I just find
Yeah.
that really weird. It's like, yeah, I get it's gonna be worse. It's a previous generation thing. I get that.
But you're saying you would prefer the choice.
I would like to have the choice, yeah. I don't know. It to me they're kind of making it out as if it's like, oh, it's just like not possible, but I don't see how it's not.
Yeah. Well, they've basically said like PlayStation VR 2 PSVR 2 is designed to be next generation sort of thing, and they
Oh yeah,
want
it looks the actual PS4 2 looks really good. Like it has the was it the faux I can't remember what it's called the eye
foveated
tracking
rendering.
rendering. That's it. It has like I think that's really cool that it's actually
Yeah.
implementing that. It's like, oh
Because
okay, that's really
I've
cool.
seen like Eurogamer's coverage of because they did like a hands-on of using the
Yeah, they
PSVR
had like a
2, and
conference thing.
they
Yeah.
were saying like because they were talking about it in the Digital Foundry podcast as well. They had the Eurogamer guy on to talk about it. It was pretty interesting. Like the Resident Evil 7 on the PSVR 1 was like you play with a controller. There's not much interaction, whereas Resident Evil 8 on PSVR 2, it's floating hands. Everything's hand tracked. You have a gun
Oh,
you
that's
can
really
throw
cool.
around. It has like the foveated rendering where he said it was not noticeable at all, sort of thing. It's going to be really interesting, I
That's really
think,
cool.
to capture PSVR to VR2 footage though, because I think you're going to notice foveated rendering watching a video.
Yeah. Is there like a special capture mode maybe where like it gets more intense? I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to know how that's gonna work. I
But
guess technically though, from the
everything
digital
I've read
foundry
about
perspective, they could show the foveated rendering like to people and how it works.
from everything I've seen about PSVR 2, it seems really, really cool.
Yeah,
A little bit of a
the
shame
controllers are really cool.
it's a little bit of a shame you can't run PSVR 1 and stuff, but I kind of get it. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's really anything in the PSVR 1 catalog where I'm like, damn, I'm upset I can't play that.
I think as well, realistically, the stuff that I would want to play will probably be updated anyway to PSVR 2. So I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I guess it might be more of a developer thing. Is like they're just like locking off and doing more to make a new version.
As well as this PSVR stuff, we also got announced Demio, one of the most popular D&D VR games, or one of the only ones, I guess. One of the most popular VR games, I would say. Demio is super, super popular. It's coming to PSVR 2. It's really, really cool to see that they've already got like a big game like this
how
coming.
popular this is.
Yeah, I think it just took a lot of people, by surprise how like.
I think having the card system to be your attack and like what you decide like really like is a good way of like showing different attacks and things.
I know specifically Dungeons and Dragons has been gaining like massive popularity thanks to the COVID lockdown, where it's been growing massively on YouTube and Twitch through stuff like I think is it Shut Up and Sit Down?
Yeah, even before COVID, D&D was like
Critical Role is the name. Critical Role is the name of the bunch of voice actors that get together, and they do like D&D campaign together. Do you know they're the most subscribed to Twitch channel in the world? By subscribers, Critical Role is the biggest Twitch channel in the world.
Yeah, I can imagine that. But I'm saying even before COVID, like some of these like channels were like growing like quicker and quicker, and it's like when COVID happened, it's then just became massive. And so I think D&D was like growing in popularity like before, and then it just like massively spiked, and then people realized like how cool some of the D&D lore is and like what you can do with it.
Unreal Engine 5's Nanite and Lumen now work with high-end VR, so you'll be able to get those benefits of software-based ray tracing in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's great.
Interested to see.
I mean, if any game comes out on Unreal 5, Joe, it's going to be a fantastic game.
Unreal Engine 5, 4K VR with ray tracing. Get your 4090s ready to be able to run that.
Yeah.
Finally, we found a use for it. Call of the Sea is coming to virtual reality in 2023. So this is a walking simulator puzzle game with like really cool visuals. I think this is a perfect fit for a VR port. Quite like a simple game mechanically, but obviously a game with strong visuals could be massively improved by putting it into VR, having you have a look around at this really cool stuff.
If you can interact with stuff as well, that'd be really cool as well.
It's been announced for Meta Quest 2 next year, and nothing else. PCVR is dead. Well, PCVR is not dead, actually. We have a savior. Meta Quest 2, no PC announcement. Hopefully there will be one, but I'm assuming there just won't be. I'm not holding out hope. Tony, longest time I've been hoping. They announced the sequel to Boneworks Bone Labs from Stress Level Zero, the awesome guys over the YouTube channel Node, like Brandon and those guys. They came out with a new release date trailer for Bone Lab, right?
Yeah.
And for the longest time, they were like, it's coming soon. It's coming out soon, right? They released this awesome trailer for Bone Lab, the sequel, the successor to Boneworks, and they're like, it's coming out on Thursday. In like 6 days, like it's coming soon. Like it will be out next Thursday next week. Tony, Bone Labs is out.
That end of the month or something. Is that the day? I don't know.
The 29th.
29th. Okay.
So this is going to be coming out on Steam, and there's an Oculus version. And I've watched some of the Bone Labs gameplay of like Brandon going through like how the game works to the Node guys, and he essentially said, with Oculus versions, they have like a cutback version of the. Either they have a cutback version for the Oculus, or they have to cut back the main game to have it parity with the Oculus. He said, no, we've got like the full fat game running an Oculus Quest 2, which I'm like, oh, that's awesome. They haven't cut anything back. And I watched some of the gameplay. The new avatar system in the game is really cool. You have like this ripcord in your hand, and it changes your player model. And changing your player model changes your stats. So you can see in the trailer video, he needs to hit a button up high, so he changes like a really tall, lanky model. When you're that really tall, cool. Lanky model, you can reach higher stuff. But you have like stats where you'll become stronger, so you'll be able to just pick enemies up and throw them. But then you'll be like, I need to move really fast. So you'll play like this anime ninja girl, and you'll be able to like run really fast instead and be very light and move around a lot. And I'm like, that's such a cool idea where like avatars physically change how you move in VR and how you interact with stuff. I was like, that's a really cool idea.
Change your perspective.
Another awesome thing about this is they're like, essentially, because like Bone Labs, Boneworks mods are like huge. We talked about the Metal Gear Solid one that just came out recently. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the one thing like propping up PCVR for a long time has been mods have been keeping it slightly alive. But we've been waiting for the real heavy hitters. We've been waiting for the Bone Labs. Everyone's been waiting for the Alex sequel. We've been waiting for Among Us VR. Everyone's. I just realized
I'm waiting for the Steam VR in Steam Index too.
I just realized something, but I'll tell you about it off air after the podcast because it's NDA. It's NDA stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, this looks really really cool. Yeah, I own Bone Labs. I own Boneworks. The original. I still haven't played it yet. It's on my like list of games to play. At the moment I'm playing Tentacular, but I started playing Tentacular in the summer, and it's finally getting cold enough to play VR again. I'm like, yes, I can finally get back to play VR. But I'm currently playing through The Witcher 3, so
in VR.
Not in VR, unfortunately. I don't know if that's confirmed for the next gen patch. They showed stuff like driving around go-karts. There's for like vehicle control. I like how he talked about like it's confusing driving vehicles in VR because do you do it standing up? Do you like grab a chair and try and sit down? Like that he was showing off like gameplay of LA Noire. Oh, speaking of LA Noire, talking about PSVR 2, apparently the default mode for the Horizon Forbidden West is gesture-based movement. And from what it was described, it sounded exactly like how gesture-based movement works in LA Noire, where you would like move your arms left and right to run sort of thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds exactly like how LA Noire does it. And I actually quite like that system for like helping people with motion sickness. Yeah. But then there's essentially there's that mode is like the beginner mode, so it seems like gesture-based movement is taken over teleportation. And then for the advanced mode, it's going to be joystick moving sort of thing, smooth locomotion. Which I still think smooth locomotion will be better with joysticks, but I own Vive one, so I have no way to test out if it is. As soon as I get a VR headset with joysticks, I will try smooth locomotion more. But right now, with Vive ones, teleportation is just infinitely better. Trying to use smooth locomotion on the touchpad of a Vive wand is fucking awful.
Is that one of the problems with the Index as well? It still doesn't have joysticks.
No, the Index has joysticks.
It has joysticks, okay.
Yeah, it was the first one that had joysticks. I mean, Vive to this day still doesn't have joysticks. They have the focus wands. Like the original focus wand that I own from the fucking Vive from like when did it come out? 2016 is the exact same design they have in 2022. Like,
that's unfortunate. Okay.
Bone Labs looks fucking awesome. Really hyped.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Based on seeing this trailer, it seems like it's probably going to be one of the biggest VR games of this year. But obviously, Among Us VR is not out yet, guys. Holiday season, it's coming.
It's gonna be delayed for next year, isn't it?
Oh, I had some gameplay footage here. It looks really, really cool. Where he's showing off like the avatar system and stuff like that. If you're interested in Bone Labs, check out this video. It's a bit long to watch now. We do not have time to watch this.
We still have the main news to do.
But this is fucking awesome. I'm so excited for this. Main news: Switch announcements. Factorio is coming to the Nintendo Switch, so all of the game's content will be available. The gameplay is not simplified. There are no artificial limits. For the Switch version. I love that the video player is embedded into a Switch on the website. This is how you do blog posts 101. This is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
There will be no mod support for the Switch. Multiplayer will be available, including playing cross-platform. The Nintendo Switch Online is required for online play. The game will run at 30 to 60 FPS. And you should be able to build a factory up to the rocket with 60 UPS. UPS being updates per second. The game that's like the tick rate of the game.
Yeah, simulation speed.
Yeah. He's in the creator goes on to say, if you're trying to build like a big factory, it will drop massively, sort of thing, running on the Switch.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you're building a computer in Factorio, it's not gonna run very well.
So he said playing with a controller is slightly slower and will take some time getting used to, but is definitely playable once you've played through the tutorials with it. And essentially, they started working on a port for the Switch before the Steam Deck was even announced, meaning that this wasn't, this wasn't a Steam Deck thing, and they were like, "Oh, let's release it on the Switch as well." It was like, "We want to put it on the Switch. Let's figure out controller support." And then the Steam Deck came out, and they're like, "Oh, people will probably want to play this on the Steam Deck as well."
That's really cool.
The controller support is optimized for Joy-Cons, they say in this blog post, and they say that more work for other controllers is required. But right now, what they're going to do is they're going to focus on feedback from the Switch version about the controller support, and then they're going to work on generic controller support, which would be stuff like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that is really cool.
Potentially, there could be a Steam Deck version of Factorio if the Switch version does well, and they'll get feedback on using a controller of Factorio. But yeah, I thought this was a really cool announcement. It seems cool that you can play Factorio on the game.
They finally get the Steam Deck verified on the store page.
I've yet to play Factorio. It's one of those games I really wanted to play. Like, I'm a big fan of Satisfactory, so definitely want to try out Factorio at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, Nintendo Switch Online has the golf update now, Tony. Obligatory golf game update. There is now 21 holes from the Wii Sports Series on the new Nintendo Switch sports game. What's it called? Nintendo Switch Sports. That's what it's called. You'll be able to play with friends in local online play, and there's a new mode called Survival Golf, where you have 8 players all playing at the same time. Last golfer swinging. That's how they phrased it.
Right. Someone's saying this like they keep adding stuff to Nintendo Switch Sports, but it's still not a complete game.
Yeah, it seemed like it only launched with like what is it called? Chatterai, the sword thing, bowling, football, and volleyball, I believe.
That was it. That's literally okay. I can see why people are upset.
Thinking that was mostly it, right? And then they said you'd be able to get the Ring Fit thing, or the adapter that you could put the Joy-Con on your leg and then play the kicking minigame with your leg. And then that was added as a later update, I believe.
Yeah.
Next up we have Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. So this is a Fatal Frame game that was exclusive to Japan, but is being released for the first time ever outside Japan. And this will be coming to all platforms, Switch and PC, in 2023. So we got the Maiden of the Lake, I believe it was called, the other Fatal Frame game we got remastered from the Wii U? Got ported to the PC. This is one that has never been available outside Japan and is now available the first time, so that's pretty cool. If you don't know what Fatal Frame is, essentially a horror game where one of the main mechanics is you have a camera and you need to use the camera to see in the dark, and then you get to see spooky ghosts on the camera. That's how it works.
Cool concept. I'm glad to see unrestricted games like locked to one region, like console regions.
If you love that news, you're going to love the news later then, Tony.
Okay.
GoldenEye 007 Xbox Game Pass reveal. So this GoldenEye 007 is coming to Xbox Game Pass. They don't mention improved graphics, just resolution and frame rate. It's confirmed to not be the much improved Xbox Live arcade version, which was like the massively improved version that was like a full remaster from Rare, which was leaked. It's coming to Rare Replay, which essentially, if you don't know, is like a Xbox exclusive game of a bunch of like old Rare games emulated on Xbox hardware. Because I think it's available on the Xbox One. It might be available on the Series X as well. But I put this in Nintendo news, so it's like, I believe it's a new port of the original. It's like emulated on Rare Replay. I'm not 100% sure on the specific way that they're doing it. We're gonna have to wait and see when it comes out. But it's also coming to so 64 GoldenEye 007 is coming for Switch as part of their Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscription, where they're adding old Nintendo 64 games to the service. So that's going to be emulated on the Switch. But the really confusing thing is the online play for GoldenEye is going to be a Nintendo Switch exclusive. It's exclusive to the Switch version of the game.
All right.
So it might be because they're emulating the 64 version, and then the Xbox Pass is going to be using maybe a port of the game instead. I don't know. It's all like really, there's not a lot of information about it. Like the Rare post says that it's coming with 4K with smoother frame rates, but there's nothing mentioned about improving the graphics. I have to wait and see in this one. Also, it says Xbox Game Pass. Could they bring this to PC as well? I don't think they will, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Oh, most important announcement of the day, Tony. Garfield Lasagna Party is launching this November for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Switch. The top comment on this post was, "What an incredibly weak attempt to dethrone Garfield Kart as the #1 Garfield game of all time."
I don't understand this game. So what is...
This is essentially it's Mario Party but with Garfield characters. In the same way Garfield Kart is a cheap attempt at Mario Kart but with Garfield characters, Garfield Lasagna Party is going to be Mario Party but with Garfield characters.
Right. But this looks really weak to me.
The Garfield comic has very little characters, right? The original base comic, right? Because there's more in like the expanded stuff, right? There's 4 playable characters: Garfield, Odie, and 2 female cats I'm not familiar with. How is one of the characters you can play out not John?
Yeah.
The main character of Garfield. There's Garfield, there's John, and there's Odie. That's like the main characters of the Garfield comic strip.
There's also the kitten and also then the female cat as well. So
all I'm saying is
there's like 5 characters.
John is playable in Garfield Kart. Why is he not playable in Garfield Lasagna Party? I mean, it went from Game of the Year to second best Game of the Year behind Among Us VR. Next up, we have PlayStation State of the Play. Tony, I'm going to put out a disclaimer now because things are about to become very confusing if I don't read this out to you and the people and you understand this. I will put an end to this confusion before it starts. Sega is officially changing the Yakuza name from Yakuza to Like a Dragon. Why is this confusing? The Yakuza games are called Yakuza, but Sega made a new type of Yakuza game that moved from the normal Yakuza formula of like action-adventure kind of open-worldy fighting game to an RPG turn-based mechanic with the game Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
So, why are they changing this? Yakuza has always been called Like a Dragon in Japan. So, it was called Yakuza in the English-speaking territories.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just going to say, I assume it was called Like a Dragon in Japan because that's like a well-known saying that doesn't translate to English, whereas Yakuza is like, we know Yakuza. Like, that's a common name. So I assume that was the decision back in the day, right?
I was hoping Yakuza Like a Dragon was going to be called Like a Dragon in Japan. But because it's already called Like a Dragon, it's just called Like a Dragon 7 in Japan.
Like DMC Devil May Cry.
So, there's 3 Like a Dragon games coming to PC, but when I say Like a Dragon, understand that
it's a Yakuza game.
These are Yakuza games. So
I think I can understand that. That's what you need to say. I can understand.
So we have Like a Dragon Inshin, which is an 1860 samurai Like a Dragon game. It's a remake of a 2014 PS4 game, which was never released outside of Japan. So another game where it came out in Japan, but now is being re-released with this remake in 2023. So it's going to have English localization. It's coming to all of the games announced today for Like a Dragon are also coming to PC, which is really, really cool to see. Like a Dragon Ishin. I'm going to fuck up these names because they're Japanese.
Maybe Ishin?
Ishin. Like a Dragon.
I think it's Ishin.
Like a Dragon Ishin will not feature an English dub, so you will have Japanese voices with subs. But it will be localized, so menus and stuff will actually be in English and stuff like that. They're moving. So this is really confusing. The name of the engine that Like a Dragon runs on is called the Dragon Engine. But with this game, they're moving from the Dragon Engine over to Unreal Engine. This is kind of a shame to see because it's cool when a company has their own engine and they optimize it, but you also understand that when a company needs to hire talent, they need to go, oh, we're looking for Unreal Engine developers, rather than saying, hey, does anyone understand how to run on this engine, or adding more research and development time and money into keeping up their own engine. It's a lot easier and cheaper to run on a third-party engine. So the really interesting thing about this thing, Tony, is they finally brought this game to the West because the success of Ghost of Tsushima. They originally thought that a samurai game set in Japan would not do very well in the West until Ghost of Tsushima came out. It's so insane.
People love samurai stuff.
It's so insane that a team of Western developers making a Japanese game has made it so that Japanese developers feel comfortable releasing Japanese samurai games in the West now. It seems like
I guess it's kind of similar. Like, I can kind of see. Okay, I can kind of understand that because I'm be like, oh, who would want to watch like a Londoner like detective series? And then it's like, oh, but someone in America has made a London detective series like using English actors, but like they made it. It's like, oh, we can make this stuff and release it. Right? So I can kind of understand that actually.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know other territories and what they like. It's like you're so
this is called
ingrained into yours.
Like a Dragon, but this is going to be the old Yakuza gameplay format where it's like action adventure-y sort of gameplay style, not Like a Dragon 8. Like a Dragon 7, where
I can't tell how it's
like
pronounced. I think it might be just Ishin.
Ishin. Next up we have
I don't know.
Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, which is showing. So I've never played a Like a Dragon game, so I'm just going based on the events. I do really want to get into Like a Dragon. I'm going to start with Like a Dragon 0 or Yakuza 0, as it's called in the West. I do want to. I haven't. I've played very little Japanese games, and Yakuza is a series I've really wanted to get into. But so this is apparently Kiryu's perspective following the events of Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, leading up to Like a Dragon 8, and this will be launching in 2023. So this will be releasing after Like a Dragon Ishin, and this will be. I don't know if we see gameplay, but I'm assuming this is more like the Yakuza format. And then the next, because we don't actually get to see gameplay if it's going to be like turn-based RPG, if it's going to be more like action adventure sort of style. We'll have to see. And then we have another Like a Dragon game called Like a Dragon 8. So this is the sequel to last year's Like a Dragon game, Yakuza Like a Dragon, if you're from the West, where it was turn-based. And this is going to be another turn-based Like a Dragon game. So this is a turn-based RPG sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon. This will continue the mainline series and will come out in 2024. So, got a quote here.
A lot Like a Dragons, as we were saying.
Because people have been saying, like, the Yakuza series it's turned fully into a turn-based RPG. But the Yakuza games are they're like action adventures. They're fighting games. They're like a fifth of one of the games is just completely a rhythm game. They're driving games. Like they're just every single genre at once, which is why I'm very because I played Sleeping Dogs recently, and I'm like, is this sort of like Hong Kong Yakuza? Is this what it's like? But I think
that's more close to GTA, I think, but I don't actually know.
I don't know because there's like karaoke and gunfights
I think that's
and crazy stuff going on. And
I think that's all that side stuff. I think is pretty like similar in concept, I suppose.
But I think Like a Dragon was a bit more linear than the original format. But Masayoshi Yokoyama says Like a Dragon will use whatever system serves its story, even if it means making a party game. So the Like a Dragon devs was just like, yeah, fuck it. Like we don't care what gameplay the game has. We just want to make a kick-ass game. Like let's just keep making kick-ass games.
Yeah, I respect that.
I can't wait. Really cool. I can't wait for the Like a Dragon party game to dethrone Garfield party game. Garfield Lasagna Party versus Yakuza
would it be called a Like a Dragon Sushi Party?
There it is. Guys, you heard it here first. We got the leak. And so we have Judgment and Lost Judgment, which were PlayStation exclusives for the longest time, confirmed coming to PC. They are now available on Steam. You can go and purchase them on Steam now, which is really, really cool.
Yes, I did see this on Steam.
So they are spin-off games from the Yakuza Like a Dragon series. So they're in the same like universe sort of thing, but they're not directly connected to the story. We talked about this previously. They must have made a deal with the Japanese talent agency, because if you don't remember in the past, we talked about Sega wanted to publish Lost Judgment on PC and Steam to further extend the series' audience, but the protagonist actor, Takuya Kimura's talent agency refrained them from doing so due to a very strict portraiture rights policy that the agency had over the actor and his likeness in the game. And they said they did not want their talent's portraits on a PC platform that is not a game console platform and connects directly to the internet. That was like the exact wording of why Judgment and Lost Judgment weren't allowed on PC, because it was going to ruin the reputation of the actor in the game, which is
because he's on the internet. It's because of all the sex. It's all the sex mods, isn't it?
Which is just like insane laws that exist in Japan. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's like a contract thing. It's like, no, this is written into the contract. You can't do that. Yeah. To the letter contracts. Very interesting.
Those were the Like a Dragon announcements. Just to let you know.
There's a hell of a lot.
Yakuza is called Like a Dragon. Yeah, 3 whole games, all coming to PC within the next 2 years. 2 coming out next year, with a 3rd coming out in 2024. It looks really, really
Judgment's already coming out. That's
and
just insane.
The Lost Judgment games have already been ported to PC, including the brand new one, which came out recently. I think Lost Judgment came out this year, so that's cool.
Oh, right. I find it insane. Like, is it like, they had issues trying to get these games onto the PC, and then suddenly they both drop. I wonder if they had it ready, and it's like, oh, we need the legal team to sort out these contracts.
We're just living in Like a Dragon's world right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you also got to remember, Tony, we're getting another huge drop from Sega this year. Sonic Frontiers is coming out this year, Tony.
Yeah.
We're not just living in Like a Dragon's world. We're living in Sega's world.
Oh, dear.
I think Lost Judgment came out the end of last year, 2021.
Right.
So
I think they must have had the ports ready though, and then they had to find a way to get it released. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Let's move on. Pacific Drive, My Summer Stalker Car. This is another announcement from the State of Play. It's essentially like a game where you drive around like a post-apocalyptic world in a car, and you have to maintain a car. But there's also some weird like post-apocalyptic, like stalkery metro stuff going on, which I just think is a really cool concept of.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like the art style. I like the atmosphere. I like how
So
it looks.
the top comment finally: station wagon based combat.
Station wagon based. But yeah, I mean, I like post-apocalyptic stuff. I think because these games have been really popular recently, like My Summer Car, My Monbozo or something it's called. Like this idea of you driving around and having to maintain a car and its parts and bonding with that car.
Oh, you're in
and
Oregon,
stuff like
apparently.
that. But I think like mixing that with like supernatural elements, maybe like light combat, heavy story, cool art. This seems like it could be a really, really cool hit. So excited to see more from Pacific Drive. I think this game looks really, really awesome. It's giving me like, in terms of like art style and stuff, it's kind of giving me like Firewatchy vibes as well. I think it looks like that sort of like art style as
the
well.
mystery.
Yeah, as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. The driving looks great, by the way.
You're gonna say to me soon, I'm so fucking confused. There's so many samurai games coming out. You're goddamn right. Rise of Ronin is coming out. Samurai games are back, baby.
Well, if Ghost of Tsushima showed that it sells well, then I think this is gonna come back.
Yeah, just to think, like I think Ghost of Tsushima is responsible for a lot of these games coming out.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great game.
So this is an action RPG game from Team Ninja. They're most famous for Neo. They recently did like Neo 2 on the PC as well. So that was quite popular. But yeah, I think this looks really, really fun. I'm excited. I'm down to play some samurai games, Tony. Is what I'm saying.
Is that the Eagle from Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I think he's he left Ubisoft because of allegations.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a samurai game.
He's had to find work out in different markets.
Yeah.
Just kidding. They would never fire someone who was accused of sexual allegations at Ubisoft. Yeah, and then finally we have another trailer for Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. So the Spider-Man game for the PS4 and PS5 update got ported to PC recently, and the Miles Morales game, which came out later with improved graphics, is coming to PC this fall. So
that's excellent.
As soon as a couple of months. It's amazing. It's no official announcement, but yeah, Nixes is going to be doing another PC port, and it's awesome to see. Like, I'm glad they've got Nixes working on this stuff, because Nixes seems to be doing really, really cool stuff with the PC ports. So
cool. I'm glad these fantastic Spider-Man games are coming to PC. Like, I did not expect that to happen, and I'm really happy. Like Insomniac game coming to PC. Count me in.
And maybe that Nexus could work with Night Dive about on a Deus Ex game.
Yeah, maybe.
Wink,
yeah.
And then finally, before we end, we're at the 2-hour mark. Realms Deep, Boomer Shooter Con, let's go. So it was really
This is your section.
Yeah. It was really cool to see, like, the whole trailer event thing was really, really cool, really, really well put together. There was no, like, cringe moments like the big E3 stuff. It was really concise, and they actually had people who knew what they're talking about. It was really cool to see them bringing on, like, actual content creators that actually work hard on this stuff. They had people like Icarus Lives, who does the Doom mod madness. He goes like massively in depth into Doom mods. A really, really cool guy. They had like Mandalore Gaming presenting this really cool dinosaur game.
Oh, really?
They had like
that's cool.
They brought on like Tyler McVicker, who's recently been doing the Passionate Game project, where he's been like emulating a webcast from like the 1990s and playing like boomer shooters on his stream, which is a really, really cool project. Cool. One of the things that I was like kind of question marking was, though, they had a Team 17 announcements, and I was really like confused because so far they've been like Realms Deep is like is mostly like shooters, immersive sims, like weird PSX horror games, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down for this. It was just really weird then being shown like trailers for like Golf with Your Friends update and then like Moving Out 2. And I was like, this doesn't really fit with the vibe of Realms Deep. That was kind of strange, but Team 17 is like publishing the Necromancer like RTS game where you command like a bunch of skeleton warriors that I played in the Steam Demo Fest. I don't know if you remember. I think it's called Undying.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
That's the game. I don't remember what it's called. But I played it, and it's published by Team 17 Necromancer game. If I type that, it'll probably come up. The Unliving is what it's called. And I played it, and I thought it was okay, but it's not my kind of game. My big complaint was the AI was not great in the demo.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go.
The core concept was good, though.
I watched this. I wrote down a bunch of games. I think I wrote down every game, and then I was like, damn, I can't write down every game that's announced. But then of the games that I did write down, I realized some of them had demos, and it's already up on the podcast channel now. So if you want to watch a Tangerine video on Coven, Fortune's Run, Alder Choke, and Wizardium, we have a full Tangerine going over my impressions of the demos. So we won't be talking about those today. But let's go straight in with some of the big announcements. Phantom Fury has been announced. So this is the sequel to Ion Fury, one of the best build engine games published by 3D Realms. Can I just say how awesome it is that we have 3D Realms publishing boomer shooter games again? It just seems so awesome that they coming from like Duke Nukem and stuff, and just coming back now to the modern day with all this awesome stuff.
It is cool that the market can like allow for these small games to come back.
But if you don't know, like,
get for strategy games.
The first game, Ion Fury, was built in Build Engine, which is the original engine from like Duke Nukem 3D. I think Blood is in Build Engine as well. Like really awesome old games. And that was like 2.5D, 3D, sort of stuff in the Build Engine. Phantom Fury, the sequel, is moving completely to full 3D. So this game is actually made in Unreal Engine 4, it's been announced. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go from the build engine format going to a full 3D game. From what I've seen so far, it looks really fucking awesome. Like I'm a fan of 3D shooters. I think they're cool as well. But interesting to see how they make the transition from two very different formats. But yeah, so far...
It could be like linear experiences, I suppose, which are really lacking recently. So yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah. And then the next really big announcement is Rise of Triad Ludicrous Edition. So not only do you have Apogee, you have two of my favorite studios right now, New Blood, who have been absolutely killing it. I think they are definitely responsible for a lot of this boomer shooter throwback stuff. I said it back in the day when I saw the 100%. New Blood stuff initially on Steam, and I played like the Ultra Kill demo in itch.io and stuff. I was like, this New Blood company is fucking killing it with this stuff. This stuff is awesome. But New Blood and Night Dive are working together to remaster Rise of Triad, one of the best old-time classic boomer shooter games. If you don't know, like Dave Oshry, the CEO of New Blood, actually worked on Rise of Triad 2013, which was like this kind of sequel to Rise of Triad. It was like a 3D game. It kind of got mixed reviews. Some people really liked it, some people didn't.
It's like a soft reboot sort of thing, wasn't it?
I played Rise of Triad on launch. Rise of Triad 2013 on launch, not because I knew anything about the game. This was before I was getting back into boomer shooter games. I literally bought the game because I saw it on Steam and I was like, Rise of Triad, that's a really dumb name. I'm going to buy this game as a meme. I actually bought a 4-pack of it for like a bunch of my friends. And I played it very briefly and I never finished the 2013
That one 4-pack's but a thing.
Yeah, back in 2013. But one of the cool things is that 2013 soundtrack is going to be available to listen to in this fully remastered sort of like source port of the original game. So this looks really cool. I'm definitely going to be checking this out at some point after it comes out. So yeah, looks really, really cool. But yeah, excited. Always excited when I'm always excited when Night Dive remasters something, but I'm always excited when New Blood's doing something. So it's really cool to see the two companies working together.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to some of the other trailers. We have one. This one's like really interesting. So this is Tenebris Somnia, and the thing that normally, so initially I saw this and I was like, I don't know about this one. Maybe I'm not interested in this, but I think it was really interesting. Where it's essentially a point-and-click 2D survival horror adventure, and I was like, initially, like that's not something that I would initially be interested in. But the thing that made it really interesting was that it takes this 2D survival horror and then combines it with full FMV action cutscenes, and it just makes it look really, really interesting to me. Like this like dichotomy between like 2D stuff and then you have like these terrifying like videos of like stuff happening. I was like, this looks really, really interesting. It's not something initially I would be interested in, but just seeing the two things put together, I thought, man, that looks really, really cool.
I don't know. It's something a weird like FMV stuff. Just like not that many things with it in. I'm just very interested whenever there's FMV stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really cool way to do it, where they've got like this. I think it's going to depend on the acting, but I think like if they can do it right, I can see it working really well. Coming out next year. Next up, we have Hyper Violent, another boomer shooter. There's going to be quite a few boomer shooters because it's a boomer shooter con. But I saw the trailer for Hyper Violent and I was like, yep, I'm playing this. This game looks really fucking fun. It's another awesome retro throwback FPS boomer shooter game. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, check that one out when it comes out. Cool. Next up, we have Compound Fracture. This is the one that was announced by Mandalore, which is essentially a weird like FPS retro game, like linear game where you go around shooting dinosaurs, and it's almost like this atmospheric horror game, almost where these like dinosaurs are sneaking up on you in like the in like these like abandoned factories. It looks really, really cool. Again, really, really interested in this one. I think this one's going to be very interesting. Getting a lot of atmospheric vibes from this one. Getting some like Resident Evil Silent Hill kind of vibes from this one as well.
I'm getting Silent Hill vibes more than this was great.
It's a lo-fi horror survival dino shooter.
A dino shooter?
You are shooting dinosaurs, yes. That is the enemy of the game.
I'm still waiting to be a dinosaur with like guns on their back, shooting guns, but I'm waiting for that game still.
Is there any games that you shoot people as dinosaurs? But not off the top of my head.
No, I can't think of any.
Next up, we have the Last Exterminator. I saw the trailer for this and I was like, oh, this looks and sounds very much like Duke Nukem 3D. Immediately, I was like, oh, are they trying to do an homage to Duke 3D? Because I saw the trailer and I was like, immediately like, this is Duke 3D. And then literally in the trailer, they have the opening from Hollywood Holocaust that is referenced in so many different games at this point because it's so iconic. And I'm like, yeah, it's a Duke Nukem 3D homage. It
looks interesting though.
But yeah, it looks really, really cool.
3Dness, like I can't. Yeah, it's interesting. Like it looks sprites. I don't know. Like it's sprites for 3D. That's very interesting.
Yeah, looks really, really cool. Love to see that destruction that the Duke Nukem 3D build engine is famous for.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what engine this is running in. I'd assume it's like Unreal or Unity. I didn't particularly look into too many of the engines, unless like it directly stated what engine it was running in. I wonder if it has just. It looks heavily inspired by Duke Nukem 3D. Yes, it does. It's coming out in 2024, so it won't be out for a couple of years.
Okay, sometime.
We have another game called AWOL, and this one is specifically built on the build engine. And I was looking at this, and I was like, oh man, this looks cool. When does this come out? And it turns out it's out now, and it's free to play on Steam. So you can just download this from Steam, free to play, and it's just a linear campaign built on the build engine by a bunch of like build engine modders sort of thing have come together to make this project. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Because on the conference, not only did they announce like full games coming out, they also announced like mods for Doom and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. They announced a Doom mod, but I googled the name and I couldn't find anything about it. Like, I literally couldn't find it on the internet, like it didn't exist. I was like, what the hell happened to this mod? So,
got news.
Not great optics on that mod. It's a shame when, like, you're looking for something and you just can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Like how it's hard to find the podcast if you're not specifically looking for specific things about it, because there's so many in-between podcasts on the internet. Yeah. We got another trailer for Sprawl, which we talked about Sprawl in the previous podcast. This game fucks. It looks so cool. I want to play Sprawl right now. There's still no release date for this, but I need this. It looks so smooth. It looks like so much fun. This game looks like it absolutely fucks. It's got like this industry cyberpunky vibe with like fast-paced bullet time gun shooting. I'm like,
it looks great.
This looks really, really fun.
First person Max Payne in a dystopian.
Getting a lot of like mix of like Doom Eternal, Ghost Runner, like those sort of Turbo Overkill like vibes from this. Looks really, really cool. Super Buff HD. This is a cool like throwback shooter. It's essentially like Boss Rush, I believe. Is a fast-paced skate surf FPS. It's the year 20,000 and 2020. It's wild. All the buff dudes have turned on society. Stop them. But essentially, it's like
what?
Yeah, you have like super mobility, and you levels of playgrounds where you jump, shred, and bounce all over. So you ground between rails, body surf, and enemies. The game's all about having these big like arenas that's all about fast movement. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down for this. Like, I think initially like the art style's a little bit off-putting for people, but if the gameplay's solid, I think this could be really, really fun. And it's coming to PlayStation as well, like PlayStation 4 and 5. So I was like, oh, that's really, really cool that it's coming to PlayStation and PC. That was sick.
Yeah.
And the last one we have is Combustion, another 3D Realms published game. It's like this weird mix of action RPG inspired by PSX era graphics, Tony. Another PSX era game style. You play as a rookie cop Calico. You must restore order as a mastermind serial killer sends a wave of terror through the city. I just thought it was like this cool mix of like action. There was like this mix of like driving with all this like arcadey style PlayStation aesthetics.
I'm just gonna look at this. This actually interests me more than the other stuff. Like, this actually looks cool.
Yeah, I think this looks really cool. So I'm excited for this. Just some quick announcements before we end. N-Chain is coming to early access on Steam soon. We've talked about N-Chain in the past. Really cool game. It's like this mix of shooter and Dark Souls game that is really, really cool. Prodeus has just come out of early access on Steam. It has like a big update now as well. So check that out because that game's really, really cool. We've done a spotlight on that as well if you want to check that out. And Dread XP announced some cool horror stuff. They announced that there was a free update to Spookware, the spooky WarioWare game. there's a brand new chapter for the story mode of that as well, which is cool. Which I'm gonna try. I'm gonna play some Spookware for spooky season as one of my as one of my Halloween games. So I will be checking that out. So that's cool to see. But yeah, that is Realms Deep. It is Boomer Shooter Con every year. I love to watch it. I love to see the new announcements. And one of the things that surprises me the most is I watch a lot of the announcements, and I'm like, oh, I've played this. Oh, I've played this. Oh, because I play so many of these like demos through the Steam Demo Fest now, or I know a lot about these games, or I've played a lot of them at this point. So it is cool to see like how much this stuff exists and how much more there is to come. Because I'm excited for it and bring on more of it. I think it's really, really cool. But yeah,
it's interesting.
Let's. Oh, wait, I haven't read the Petermology tweet before we end. Very important I get that in. Imagine a game where you are in a 5-year queue and nobody knows what the queue is for. The more you play, the more you can push ahead of those not currently playing the game. I think it's describing New World or just any hyped game that comes out these days. It's just describing every game with like a queue. Like I remember people queuing for New World, and there was people like 17 hours of playtime. Like, oh, have you been enjoying the game? And they're like, I have no idea. I've been sitting in the queue for 17 hours. At this point, the game is the fucking queue. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, hype is just completely taking over video games when it comes to these big releases where people are
it's not just video games. It's all media. But yeah.
Yeah. I think that shit's so dumb. Like,
yep.
Shout out to old games. Just wait. What's the deal with playing the brand new game? Just wait.
Exactly.
Check us out and everything in between podcast, YouTube, Twitch.tv/Scorn, @Scorn2000. You can also check us out on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Yeah, just search for us up there. You can check us out on Acast, shows.acast.com/everythinginbetweenpodcast. On that page, there's also a link directly to the Apple podcast page and the Spotify page. I'll show it on the screen now, just so you can see the website. I need to add this to the outro screen. I keep forgetting to do it because it's a new thing. But yeah, I will be uploading the audio version to Spotify and Apple Podcasts as soon as this ends. So make sure to check that out, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.